What's up guys, Chris Schwartz-Edmondson here from Schwartz-Edmondson Web Design. In today's video, we're going to be building out this mockup from start to finish in Squarespace. If you're new to the channel, I'm a Squarespace web developer, so I work with designers and build out their designs in Squarespace 7.1. So in today's video, you'll be able to see my process of starting from a mockup and my tips and tricks for how to build out a mockup inside of Squarespace. So let's jump right in. I've received another really beautiful mockup from Deanna at Simple and Soulful Creative. They're a Squarespace web design agency, and I serve as kind of their website developer. So Deanna will hand off a mockup to me like this, and I build it out in Squarespace. And people responded really positively to my last kind of website build breakdown that I did, so I thought I would go ahead and go over a breakdown of how I built out this mockup inside of Squarespace. So in terms of the mockup setup, we have the colors that she has included in the design in the left, and that'll make it really easy to set up my color palette in Squarespace. And over here on the right, we have the font families that each of the different heading sizes and paragraph sizes and buttons are going to be using. So for the headings, you can see that she wants both Quiche Sans Light for the heading 1, 2, and 3, but for H4, she wants a different font. She wants Sans Serif Pro Light and Italic. Same for the paragraphs. For the paragraph 2 and paragraph 1, she wants Poppins Light, but for paragraph 3, she wants Sans Serif Pro Light and Italic. And then for her buttons, she wants Poppins Medium with the letter spacing increased slightly. You're probably thinking, well, in Squarespace, you only get to use one font family for headings, one font family for paragraphs, and one font family for buttons. But in her mockup, she's using two font families for headings and two font families for the paragraphs. So I had to get a little bit creative with how I was going to accomplish this in Squarespace. And the solution that I came up with was, we have this fourth category over here, the Miscellaneous font family. So what I did is I loaded that Sans Serif Pro Light font to the Miscellaneous category. Instead of having it be the same font family as the paragraphs, I thought it would look good in this font family anyway, and then I could use CSS to apply that Sans Serif Pro Light and Italic that I had already loaded to the Miscellaneous font. Because I loaded it to the website, I could then use CSS to just apply that font that was loaded to the site to Miscellaneous, and also apply it to my heading 4 and to my paragraph 3 text. Now, one thing to note here is I accidentally targeted the wrong paragraph size, but later on you'll see me correct that and apply it to the P3 heading instead of the P1 heading that I applied it to right now. But this is the workaround that I came up with, and it works perfectly. So now that I have my typography styles set up, I can start gathering my hex codes from my color theme in Squarespace. What I like to do is I like to set up a notepad document and just copy all the hex codes for the color palette colors into the notepad. And that way, when it's time to actually set up the colors in Squarespace, it's just a quick one-by-one copy and paste, as opposed to having to go back and forth between the mockup and Squarespace. So this is just a little extra step that I like to do because it saves a lot of time in the long run. So here I have 6 colors to choose from, but Squarespace only allows 5 colors in their color theme. So I have to choose whether I want to keep black in my color theme or whether I want to keep white in my color theme. And ultimately I decided to keep black just because I think it's used a little bit more frequently throughout the design. And like, the nice thing about the color palette is it just makes it easier and quicker to access a certain color. So I can just keep white as a custom color and add it, as a custom color whenever I need white. But I want to be able to choose black really quickly for my color palette. So here I'm just pasting the hex codes into the color palette one by one. Because I'm not including white in my color palette, I'm going to start with that gray color, and I like to go lightest to darkest. So here I'm just copying and pasting those hex codes into the color palette, and these colors will be super easy to access in the future because they're part of my palette. Now that I have the palette set up, I can go ahead and set up my color themes, and this will just be a one-by-one process, editing each color theme and applying each color that I need, that I want the headings to be, that I want the paragraphs to be, that I want the buttons to be, the color themes are where you control all your colors. So that's why I love starting with a style guide like this, because you have all of the content on one page. So as you're editing a color theme, you can see those changes happening and you can compare how color themes look next to each other. But it gives you one single source of progress to look at as you're setting up the color themes. So I definitely recommend starting from a style guide for every site. I have a video on that, so definitely check out the card that just popped up. I'm sure you will be convinced after this, especially if you're a Squarespace web designer, that you should be starting from a style guide on every site. So here I'm just going through the color theme and I'm applying the appropriate colors one by one. All my headings in this section are going to be black, the background is white, and then my buttons in this section are going to be orange. So I'm just going through and applying the colors from either my palette or applying custom colors when a color is needed that isn't a part of the palette. So now that I have this first theme set up, I'm going to go ahead and just hyper time lapse this and move really quickly through the rest of the color themes. And once I have all of my color themes set up, then we can actually begin the build of the site. But it's really important, set up all your typography ahead of time, set up all your color themes ahead of time, and it makes the build really easy once you are able to make it to that phase. So one thing to note is here, I'm just setting up the background colors, the type colors, and the button colors. There's tons of different colors that you can edit, but in the very beginning, I just like to get a little bit of momentum, enough to where I'm able to start building out the site. And once I'm adding more specific blocks like newsletters, forms, auto layout sections, I can go and edit those colors as those things are added to the page. For now, I just want to get my text colors, my link colors, my button colors, and the background colors all set up so I can begin the build phase. So now that I have all the color themes set up, I can actually begin building out the home page. So I'll go back to my pages panel. I'll add a new blank page. I'll call it home, set it as the home page, and then I can begin building out the homepage mockup in Squarespace. So I'm just going to let it ride. You can just enjoy the chill music and watch the time lapse. I'll probably jump in from time to time when I think something requires narrating, but other than that, you can just watch my process, enjoy the music, and let me know if you have any questions about my process in the comments below. I'll catch up with you guys in a little bit. Now you might be wondering how I did that split layout. I'm using CSS from my course Custom Layouts in Squarespace. The link is in the description below if you're interested. It allows you to do cool things like put page sections next to each other. So here I'm putting a regular section next to an auto layout section set to carousel so that we can have these testimonials rotating on the right-hand side. This section was an interesting challenge. Originally, I tried to save both of these decorative elements as one single background image, but when I uploaded it to Squarespace, I could never get both of them in frame all the time. I could get one in frame at the top, and sometimes the bottom one would be in frame, but most of the time it wouldn't be. So I realized I would have to split up this content into two different sections, and that way I can drag the focal point of the top section up to the top, and then the focal point of the bottom section to the bottom, and that way that ensures that the decorations will always be in frame no matter if they were on the top or on the bottom. So you can see this actually turned into a really good solution, but I realized the bottom section needed to be an auto layout section, so I had to delete my progress and then start over adding that background to an auto layout section. But the great thing about an auto layout section is you can turn off the title, and then it allows you to control the space on the top and the bottom of the section. So I could remove the padding on the top of the auto layout section and make it really close to the title. And I could also change the section height of the section above and make it really small so that the title felt really close to the auto layouts items. And so that way it makes it look like it's in a single section when really it's split up into two sections, but we're guaranteed to always have those decorative elements be in frame because of there are two different sections with the focal points each on the decorative element. So a bit of a creative solution, but it ended up working really well for this scenario. So apparently I stopped screen recording, so I'm gonna jump in here live and just walk through the rest of the build. We just had this last section and the footer, and then I'll go over some changes that I made since the screen recording took place. So for this section, very simple. This is just a background image, and then we have a text block over here with a spacer block. I'm aligning the content to the right, and then I'm setting it to small. And the spacer block is just giving me a little bit more refinement in terms of moving the content over from the image. So super straightforward, just a background image with some text in here. Nothing crazy going on in the footer, just text blocks next to an image block. And then at the bottom, we have this script, this auto updating copyright year script. So this could be a text block if you wanted. I just like this auto updating copyright. So the 2022, when it goes to 2023, the year auto updates. And we don't have to remember to go in and change that. So really straightforward. I want to go over the full final build here because I did make a couple changes since the time lapse that you just saw. So really the only change that I've made is here. You saw that I uploaded this as an image block. What I did instead is I created an auto layout section, and when we edit the content for the content, each image is actually 2 logos. So this is one image, this is one image, this is one image, and then these last 2 are one image as well. And the reason that I did that is because auto layouts images stack 1 by 1, like the items stack 1 across, and I didn't want all 8 of these logos to just be stacked one on top of another. I thought it looked better if they were 2 by 2. So a little workaround there. The reason that I did auto layout sections instead is because that image block got really small on mobile and the logos were tiny. So a nice workaround there. This is the split layout section, CSS from my course, and that allows me to put this regular section next to the auto layout section. Straightforward here. Again, this is 2 separate sections, and I'm using the spacer block to space down this content on desktop. And the nice thing about spacer blocks is they get hidden on mobile. So on mobile, we don't have all that space. That logo shrinks down and it looks really good. Auto layout section there. And then this is just a background image, and this is just a background image. So I also want to show the site on mobile because I think it just works really well on mobile. I'll probably end up adding a banner overlay to this section, because I don't think there's enough contrast. In fact, I can just do that now. Actually, this might be a good thing to learn. Okay, so under my homepage styles section, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna target this homepage banner. And then I will do target the section background overlay. class. And then I'm going to give it an opacity of 1 just to see if my targeting was correct. It is. So instead we'll give it like an opacity of, let's say 0.5 maybe. 0.5 looks pretty good. 0.7. 0.7 looks good. More contrast there. And then I can just throw this in a media query. Media screen and max width. Let's do 640 pixels. Okay, so now this background overlay will only apply on mobile. And I like to always comment. So this is the homepage banner overlay on mobile. Perfect. Okay, so it's good to make little mobile tweaks like that just to keep that contrast. But on all other screen sizes, it looks good. It's just once it really gets down to mobile that it needs a little bit more contrast. And in fact, I'm going to turn that media query up because the overlay needs to appear before that. So I'm going to do 767 pixels because that is kind of the mobile breakpoint that Squarespace uses. So once it wraps, boom, we get that overlay appearing. Looks really nice. Okay, so a quick live edit there, but let's go back to the mobile view. So that's looking good. We have a lot of contrast here. This is looking good. Our logos are stacking great because we saved the images 2x2. The auto layout sections, my split layouts are stacking, which is perfect. Again, check out the course. Custom layouts in Squarespace. My accordion items here look good. These auto layouts items also looking good. I don't think that this one needs an overlay. I think there's enough contrast, but I might, Deanna might ask me to go back in and add that to the site, especially with this really fine print. That looks good, and everything else is looking good. So I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of this site build. If you did, let me know in the comments below. I have more full site builds like this planned where you can see my process from start to finish and then take a look like this at the finished product. If you do like Squarespace builds like this, please consider subscribing to the channel and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.